It's been a pretty busy week for the Boston Bruins, and on Wednesday, general manager Don Sweeney gave his take on the signings of Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci, Pavel Zacha, the ongoing negotiations with David Pastrnak, and a whole lot more. So let's take a look at what we learned from the GM on today's episode. Let's get into it.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Be, as well as take a look around the NHL. Today is Thursday, August 11th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts, so open up your favorite podcast app. Go to YouTube, search out Locked On Boston Bruins, smash that subscribe button so that you never miss a thing. The YouTube subscribers will get some bonus content when there's breaking news, some bonus instant reaction clips along the way. And then once the season starts, there'll be game instant reaction up there as well. If you're on Twitter, you can follow the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets, at Ian C. McLaren. Like I mentioned off the top, a very busy week for General Manager Don Sweeney. He spoke to the media on Wednesday to discuss the recent signings of Bergeron, Krejci, Zacha, ongoing contract negotiations with David Pastrnak, and some other news and notes as well. So I'm going to talk about what we learned from him yesterday. With respect to Bergeron and Krejci, Sweeney said that discussions with both players had been ongoing for some time. With Krejci, they had been in talks dating back to last season. He knew for several weeks that both wanted to return to the Bruins, and he commended both players for their patience as the team put together deals within the constraints of the salary cap. He said, always felt that David Krejci, door was open for him last year, this year. But knowing some of the cap challenges that we're facing, both players were really good and honest, saying, you can try to improve the team. We want to be a part of it, no matter what it takes. That's why the contractual stuff took an awful lot of time to sort of figure out what they were going to be capable of doing and how they could fit them together. He appreciates Bergeron's agent, Pasternak's agent, as well as the two players for allowing them the time to get it done, and everybody's very, very excited to have them both back. He added that while they both signed one-year deals, there's been no indication as to what the future may hold for either of them beyond the upcoming season. Excuse me again. That's going to be their decision ultimately. Patrice dictates the time on how long does he want to play hockey. He can play for as long as he really wants to tell you the truth, Don said. He was pretty adamant that he's going to take things year by year and reevaluate. There's no real timeline on how long these guys want to play. They've left it open-ended. They're very much living in the moment, recognizing they've seen several of their teammates previously move on and retire. They're being honest about where they are, but they're still really, really good players. They're driven to succeed, and they're excited about playing with the group that we currently have, Sweeney said. Krejci It was believed that he wanted to go home to play for a year, play at home before he retired. He said earlier this week that he wanted to do that while he still could. He didn't want to, say, get injured, regret never having that opportunity. Despite him being away for a year, Sweeney's confident in his ability to reacclimate to the league's nightly rigors, pointing to his success at the Winter Olympics and the World Championship last season with Czechia. Excuse me, where he averaged more than a point per game for his home and native land on the international level. He said they watched Krejci an awful lot last year, particularly at those international tournaments. You get feedback from other people saying he can still play. And, as an organization, they've done a decent job in Bergeron's case of taking away some primary minutes, spreading some things around, some situational minutes to try to ease their load, and they'll continue to try to do that. The depth they have now, guys that can play in the middle, Pavel Zacha, Charlie Coyle, Jack Stanika, Thomas Nosek, even Trent Frederick, they're in a decent spot, center depth-wise. It's going to be up to Jim Montgomery to figure out what to do with the power play and where these guys fit in, what kind of minutes he wants to give them. But they don't expect any performance to drop off. So that's the situation with Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci. Both very excited to be back. The Bruins knew they were going to be back for some time and had to work out the salary. It's open-ended, meaning if their bonus overages carry over to next season and they decide to come back, then it will all be grouped together once again. Any bonuses they sign for next season can be pushed down even further. So yeah, that's the situation with those two. Oh my gosh, got a bit of a cough this morning, friends. Before we move on to David Pastrnak situation and Pavel Zacha, the guys at the World Juniors, a quick word about Athletic Greens. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food-sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. Special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated supplement routine to recover. Cost him about $100 a day. He created Athletic Greens after experiencing how difficult it was to create an optimal nutrition routine on your own. It's time to reclaim your health now and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That is it. Make it easy. Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Just visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So when it comes to Bergeron, Krejci, that's the encouraging part of the week. One thing that remains on the table is a contract extension for David Pastrnak. He's entering the final season of a 6-year contract with an annual cap hit of $6.667 million. Sweeney said ongoing would be the best way to describe the negotiations. They've been in regular communication. Pasternak's still over in Europe. Likely that he'll come back and they'll talk between now and the beginning of the season. And when he gets back, they'll maybe have a better idea of a deal timeline, but he doesn't have one at this moment. When asked if he would risk going into the season without an extension in place, Sweeney said, yeah, it's part of the business. Leverage is out there and the conversations are ongoing. The Bruins have made their intentions known all along, and they'll continue to do that. They'll go from there. As far as entering the season with it, with it not being resolved, for him, that is not a problem. Now, that kind of goes against what he had said earlier this offseason. Back on July 13th, Sweeney said they're going to take an aggressive mindset and hopefully find common ground. Again, he did say then there's no timeline, but they wanted to be aggressive and get things done before the start of a new season. That's still possible, of course. Training camp doesn't begin for another month or so. Pastrnak enjoying the offseason over in Europe, so perhaps he isn't super plugged in when it comes to keeping in touch with his agent. And hopefully they can get it done. Going into the season with this hanging over everyone, not ideal. And of course, you risk having a Johnny Gaudreau situation where the guy goes to free agency and ultimately decides to sign elsewhere. Having Krejci back in the mix can't hurt. Having Pavel Zacha there, an old friend, can't hurt either. Patrice Bergeron setting the example by taking less money throughout his career, and especially now, to give the team the best chance to win. Will Pastrnak embrace that, or will he buck up against it and try to carve his own path? That remains to be seen, but hopefully they can get something done. Now, they did announce a 1-year, $3.5 million deal for Pavel Zacha. Sweeney said Bruins assistant GM Evan Gold and Zacha's agents did a lot of work with Pavel's contract in a short period of time. They did explore longer team deals, but as an organization, they've done a pretty good job of targeting players that they've acquired and then been able to extend. I've said that all throughout the week, similar to Taylor Hall. Pavel's a guy that they have indicated they'd like to continue to talk to. They can't do that till later on in the year, but hopefully they can find common ground there. And he himself said that he is interested in staying long term. Getting a player in, getting acclimated, feeling good about the situation, both where he's going to play and just with the guys in the room, the coaching staff. You know, Pavel was comfortable really putting himself in a position where he could parlay this, and they're comfortable as well. They've had enough talks with him that they all understand where the marketplace is, where he might fit in, and hopefully they can find common ground moving forward. They'd certainly like to have him there long term. He was also asked whether they'd need to move out a contract ahead of the season to comply with the salary cap. Sweeney said they've done significant math to be able to put the pieces together. They have some challenges, as do several teams, and how they deal with that, whether it be through trade or through waivers. They don't have an issue right now, certainly through November, with Brad Marchand, Charlie McAvoy, Matt Grzelcyk being able to put on LTIR. So they'll deal with it when they have to, but they have some mechanisms that they can use to be able to do that. They're prepared to go in a couple different directions, explore what they have to do, but he's confident they'll be able to work it all out. In terms of those injuries, everybody's doing well in their timelines. Always put a ban on things to prepare for whether or not a guy is doing better than expected or not necessarily. Right now, they're all following the trajectories that were laid out, and hopefully they don't have any setbacks or surprises. He believes the forward group is deep enough that they're going to have a real competitive camp for some spots. The back end, they're going to have to weather it, and some guys are going to have to come in and seize the opportunity. He feels really good about their goaltending situation. Those guys should be more comfortable knowing what they have to do. The backbone there, no looming Tuukka Rask comeback to think about or worry about, and depth up front should help them get through the time period without Marchand. He believes they're a competitive team. They want to improve the team this year. They have to get healthy, stay healthy, and try to take a run. But they're going to be fine from the standpoint of the number of really good players they currently have, the age band that they're in. It's the next wave you have to grow and cross your fingers that you've hit on. And that comes through development, through the draft. Jack Stanika, in particular, needs to take a big step forward. We'll talk about a couple of these other guys in the pipeline who are currently playing at the World Juniors in a moment. But first, a quick word about BetOnline. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, even golf. BetOnline is the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today at BetOnline, where the game starts. Now at the World Juniors in Edmonton, Fabian Lysell, Riley Duran, Danzalak Mellis in action. And Riley Duran, a goal and an assist in the USA opener. Fabian Lysell with an assist in his opening game yesterday against Switzerland. Sweeney was asked if Lysell could make the Bruins roster out of training camp. Sweeney said there's always a chance that a younger player can make the team. You know, David Pastrnak spent some time in Providence, came back from the World Juniors, and went in and played very well. It was hard to keep him off the team, whether or not he was physically ready to play at the level. And maybe Fabian will be the exact same way. If he comes in, stands out to the point where they feel he's ready, that's fine. But they don't need to rush things with any of the young players. Put them in an opportunity. Allow them to see if they can succeed. If you recall the junior eligibility rules, Lysell can play up to 9 games without having his entry-level contract begin. So they can give him a handful of games off the top of the season, see how he fits in, and then send him back to the WHL. And his entry-level deal will slide another year, or they can send him to the AHL since he is a European player. So that'll be fascinating to see what happens with him. Hopefully he continues to stand out in Edmonton. Riley Duran, Sweeney said he's really grown into his body, maturing as a player, a lot more confident in his progression. Nate Lehman, his group in Providence, does a really good job developing players, and Nate has tapped into Riley to get the best out of him each night. That's translating into a World Junior opportunity. They've gotten off to a good start. He was a player that they saw locally. He has attributes of his game that they were sort of in silos, so to speak. He's starting to put the package together, take those talents, growing into his physical stature, and that's exciting for the Boston Bruins. So that's pretty much it. The Bruins also announced a bunch of changes to the hockey operations staff, like 20 changes, in fact. Most notably, Jamie Langenbroder named an assistant general manager, player personnel. Dennis Bonvie has been named director of pro scouting. Ryan Nadeau is the director of amateur scouting. Dean Malkoch, assistant director of amateur scouting, and a bunch of other people down the list getting different promotions and different jobs. So check the website if you're interested in all those front office changes. That's it for me for today's episode, friends. I did want to send my condolences to the Stetler family out in Edmonton, as Oilers superfan Ben Stetler passed away at the age of 6 following a battle with cancer. Everybody saw and fell in love with this kid during the Oilers playoff run. My deepest condolences to the Stetler family, the Oilers organization. Cool to see even Milan Lucic playing for the Flames. Bitter rivals. He shared it on Instagram as well. Ben touched a lot of people around the hockey world, and we send all the love to the Stetler family. Whew, yeah, that's tough. Thank you so much for joining me this week on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. A very busy week. A lot of you taking the time to check in. Very much appreciated. That might be it for me for a couple days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, I'll be away celebrating wedding anniversary. So if something huge breaks, I'll jump on the YouTube channel and post a breaking news clip up there. But you can expect a full podcast later next week. And thank goodness all of this broke this week and not while I was away celebrating my wedding anniversary. All right, friends, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Thank you for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. Check out Locked On NHL next, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.